Yeah.
So, could you all briefly introduce yourselves so that our viewers know more about each one of you and what brought you to this music group and band? Could you
I can
start?
start.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
Kushal, you can start.
sure. My name's Kushal, and I'm a senior at University of Pennsylvania. So we're all students at this university. And I guess I've been a fan of Masala for a long time. I guess even when I was growing up, I listened to Masala. I did, a little bit of Carnatic music growing up, and a little bit of, also like choir and things, Western choir and things like that in school. And so, I think coming to school, university, and seeing a group like this that kind of mixed those two styles was really exciting to me, and part of what drew me to this group. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, my name's Partha. I'm a junior at the University of Pennsylvania as well. And like Kushal, before coming, I was a pretty big Masala fan as well. I did choir growing up, so like pretty much an entirely Western music background for me. And so, getting to sing with other guys who like the same kind of pop music, both Hindi and English, was an opportunity I couldn't pass up. So that's why I joined.
Yeah, it's
So
very
do you,
similar for me. Yeah, I'll just go real quick. Again, like these guys, I'd heard of Masala throughout middle school, and I had been listening to them through middle and high school. So when I came to Penn, I was so excited to finally find a group that really fit those interests that I'd been, growing throughout my childhood. And also to share, introduce myself. My name is Sachit, and I'm a sophomore at Penn.
hi, I'm SACHIT. I'm also a sophomore at Penn. So I guess my musical background is that I sang Carnatic music for a while as a child. Um, and after not singing for a while in high school, I started listening to a bit of Penn Masala, and I think, as the guys have said, it really reflects our cultural identity, which is why I want to
Aparna, you want to?
Generally, yeah. So generally, most of the members, are they trained into classical music, or they just have a knack for singing and then they pick up the ropes, or they train as a band member?
Yeah, so it really varies. Like some of us said, we have different kinds of musical backgrounds. So some of us have done, Carnatic music or Hindustani music growing up. Some of us have a little bit more of a Western musical background. Some of us have no musical background at all. So, we have members also that come in, who just like to sing in the shower or listen to Bollywood with their parents, something like that. And that's their entire musical experience. And that's fine too. We just want people who are passionate, and, there's a lot to learn once you join. And I think that's the most important part for us, is that you're, ready to come learn and grow and sing with us.
What does music itself mean to you? Being students, I'm assuming you're students of science. Are you all students of science? Or
Most of them are.
yeah. Okay. Usually, I mean, is there a affinity between what you're doing at UPenn and music? Is this the release for stress, or is it meeting point for young minds like yours? And where does your main interest in science meet with your music?
Yeah, so I think I can take this one. I think that for most of us, music is something that we like first and foremost we all love. Otherwise, we wouldn't be, taking the time to practice and really try to get good at it. So music is definitely something that we all love and that will be a part of all of our lives for the rest of our lives. And so, being in Masala, I think, is about taking advantage and recognizing that, while our careers and our professional lives might go another direction, we become, engineers, doctors, lawyers, bankers, whatever it may be. Um, we will always have that connection, and we're taking advantage of the time that we have with this like special group of people to really explore that interest and get and take advantage of the opportunity that we have, yeah.
And do you feel that while music that is live is different from music that is recorded, and how much of your music followers are attracted to live music, and how much of them are prefer to see you performing live?
Yeah, so I think that there's, live performance and recorded music are obviously two very different art forms almost. There's certain things that we can do in the comfort of a studio that we could never do when there's just 14 people standing on stage with mics. Maybe sometimes there's no mics. But we found that, our recorded music has kind of drawn in enough of an audience that they're curious to see what this is like for real, to be able to see the members in front of them, to be able to interact with them, with us, while we're on stage. And so I think that, the performance itself is a kind of magic that we've, I think, all been missing, very much.
And I'll
And
just add, like, I think that obviously, there's the experience of, performing and seeing people in person is very special to all of us. And one of our favorite aspects of Masala is, meeting people on stage and on tour. But because such a large portion of our audience is on the other side of the world in India, and it's been a couple of years since, we've gotten out to India. So I think that kind of having recorded music, and being able to offer that is really important to us, because we can keep, some of our, most dedicated fans are those that engage with our recorded music, because they, they live in places that we're not able to tour regularly. So it's very important for us.
And they can listen to it whenever they want to it again and
Exactly.
again. Yeah,
Exactly.
they can relive that. Yeah. So tell us something about the music you play, because as I told you last time also, I'm not very familiar with the kind of this music, or where do you fit, how do you classify it, the genre of this music as such? Yeah.
I guess there's a lot of, different genres that we could classify ourselves under. So we do a cappella mashups of English pop and primarily Hindi music. We've done a few other South Asian languages as well, but our kind of main thing that we do is mashups between popular English music and popular Bollywood music. And so, that product, I guess, is very important to us, because it is kind of a reflection of our own identities. It's the music that we grew up listening to. Most of us either grew up here to Indian parents, grew up in America to Indian parents, or, lived in India but came to the US to study. And so we're all kind of between these two worlds. And I think that kind of identity is very much reflected in our product, which is all, usually these mashups, half English, half Hindi.
And how do you select? I mean, what guides the selection of songs, the mashups?
Yeah, so in general, we kind of start with a sort of emotion or a feeling or a certain, I would say, vibe to each mashup. So whether we want to go for, a more sad, slow, emotional song, or a hype dance mix kind of type, that's usually our starting point. So we first look at English songs that will sort of fit that, and then we look at Hindi songs that fit that. And so we come up with 50 songs on each list, and then we kind of go through each combination of them and see what fits. Do the chords fit? Do the tempos match? Do the songs have the same sort of meaning? Are they the same type of sad if we're going for a sad song? So a lot of different factors that kind of come into play during the process, but usually after a couple of days of doing that, we find something that really fits and that we can really turn into something special.
Can you give us an example? Some of the recent songs that you have done?
So one of the more recent songs that we did was Tare Zameen Par Paradise. So that's one. So this one, we were kind of going for a more emotional vibe, but with something with a heavy drop. And then we were also kind of looking for that perfect nostalgia moment for people of our age as well. So that's songs that we listened to when we were, in elementary school. So when we were like 10, then we were 10. And so, Paradise and Thar Zameen Par are both iconic songs of the 2000s. And so we just kind of listened to them together, found a way that they kind of fit together, and ended up producing a music video for it.
And you're not only playing just for entertainment, you also are a bunch of committed youngsters. Like, you have taken up issues and causes, and the recent ones of the migrants traveling across the country. And you did a beautiful song about that, and a collaboration with a wonderful artist. So can you tell us something about that too?
Sure, yeah. It was really exciting to collaborate with Vishal Dadlani, huge name in the Bollywood industry, and of course we love listening to all the songs he's composed. But yeah, it was great collaborating with Vishal Dadlani on Main Hoon Na Tera. That was very exciting for us because we were able to use the music that we put a lot of effort into, and also collaborate with someone who, frankly, is one of the biggest people in the industry, and make something that would help a lot of people. And we raised a significant amount of money. I'm not entirely sure how much we raised, but it just felt really good to use our music for a good cause.
And what about the other causes that you have taken up? You believe in that? I mean, music with a purpose, or something much more to music also?
One of the projects we did a couple years ago, that's very close to my heart, is we did a cover of Kaise Mujhe with Benny Dayal, with the English song Everglow by Coldplay. And we kind of did a spotlight there on mental health and mental wellness, especially in India and in South Asian cultures. It's a little bit less talked about. We have difficulty finding the space and the words to talk about issues like that. And so, we hoped that, music is very powerful. I'm sure you guys feel the same way, that music can make things a little bit easier to talk about and make messages a little bit easier to get across. And so, we wanted to use our music in that project to bring light to an issue that really isn't talked about enough. And we were lucky enough to get Benny Dayal on board with that project, and was really happy with the way it turned out.
What about the lyrics itself? I mean, are there a lot of people who probably don't understand some of the lyrics? And how does the music communicate the emotion? I mean, in Carnatic music itself, not all of us can, know what word to word meaning of some of the kritis, but we can still understand the bhava that is behind. So the music becomes the music itself. The sound itself is especially in Indian music. You don't need to impose or superimpose the emotion on top of the raga itself. The raga is the carrier of the emotion. So do you find that people can relate to Bollywood music without understanding the lyrics?
I think so, yeah. And I think both sides. I mean, honestly, maybe Partha was going to say this, but not everyone in the group even speaks Hindi. And so, for us, even people who really like Bollywood music, a lot of us don't even speak Hindi. And so, it's also a lot about the emotional power of the songs and the context of the song, maybe from the film or something, that adds a lot to the way it's perceived. The melody, like you said, adds a lot to the way that the music is perceived as well. And that's definitely true in the way that our mashups work. I don't know if Partha, you want to add something.
Yeah, like, it's definitely a very introspective experience, I would say, because you don't need to be listening to words to understand how a song makes you feel. You can listen to that and decide that for yourself. And I don't speak Hindi personally, but does that mean that I don't tear up a little when I hear Chana Mere? Absolutely not. So it's definitely a universal language, in that it speaks to all of us, and maybe it speaks to us in different ways depending on which language we grew up speaking. But in the same, we believe that those notes, that sequence of chords, will convey the same emotions for everybody, and that's why we create the music that we do.
And technology plays a very big part in Bollywood and regional Indian music, but very little in classical music. So, do you think that and the success of Western music, especially pop music, is depends a lot on technology? So, do you think that a lot more can be done to make Indian music more popular by using the technology that is available, including recording? If we buy, people have stopped buying CDs because the music is very loud. Even in iTunes, when you buy music, it's almost, to the discerning ear. I mean, we have developed now, tolerance for a lot of background sound and very loudness of music. So, do you think a lot more can be done to improve the use of technology to enhance sound of Indian music? And what kind of technology do you yourself use, which makes sets you apart from other groups?
Yeah. So I think that obviously there's, a big debate. It's kind of controversial on the use of electronic music software. Um, but I think our stance on it is that anything that makes it like anything that makes a song sound good is good. So if we can use technology to take, the sound of our voices and turn that into something larger than life, then we are always going to take advantage of that. If we can, if we have the resources, if we have the knowledge, I think that it should be done. So I think we already see um, a move towards electronic music in Bollywood itself, um, sort of mirroring the progress of Western music. And so I think that, as recording studios and resources become more democratized, as things become more accessible, we'll sort of find our way and navigate our way through the controversial aspects of electronic music, and sort of kind of all learn to get along at some point, I think. Um, yeah.
Yeah,
And
and just
also
to
to
add
add
to
on to
that,
that, oh, sorry, go ahead,
yeah, go
Sajid.
ahead. Yeah, I was going to say another really important role that technology plays for the group is not only how we create the music, but how we disseminate that music. So we've been really quick to adapt to using YouTube and social media and other new technological platforms to really spread the music we create to different audiences. And we're very excited and always excited to keep finding new ways to use technology to spread our music and culture.
And in that way, I think I would say that Indian music is actually quite ahead in terms of, being on streaming platforms. India has its own streaming platforms that are very popular and very widespread. And there's also a lot of Indian music on, more Western platforms like Spotify. And another thing that I think sets us apart in terms of technology is that, like, we don't even use instruments and anything like that, and so there really isn't much to do in terms of um, adding different electronic sounds and stuff. It's really just our voices, and there might be newer ways to put our voices together, but it really is at the core just that. And so that's kind of the way that we interact with technology is maybe a little different.
And Indian music is very voice led. I think we say the gaika style. So even the instruments try to match the human voice, both in North and South Indian music. So how important is voice training and voice culture for you? I mean, you're a group which over 2.5 decades, and several of you have come. And do you see a voice culture as being? You say some of you have not learned music. I mean, you can not know music, but you can still have voice culture activities which enhance and sustain your voice quality. Is that something you do for voice training, which is maybe yoga or pranayama or something more Indian based?
I would say probably most of the training we get comes from practicing 4 times a week. Practice for around 2 to 3 hours from Monday through Thursday. But even apart from that, at least speaking as a sophomore, I think like the guidance you receive from your upperclassmen is very, very valuable. In like learning new styles of music, learning how to discern, even when you're listening to music, how people are singing, the tone in which they're singing, how different songs we might sing should be sung differently to make them sound well. So I think really training ourselves and receiving that guidance is very valuable in helping the group achieve the truest sound possible to like the songs that we're trying to cover.
So tell us something about the selection of the members. I hear that it's a pretty rigorous process through which you get the new members, and there is a lot of screening going on, and there is a time like September onwards you start recruiting new members and all that. So tell us something about how you get the members, the band members.
Yeah, sure. So like as we said, all of us are members, are students at the University of Pennsylvania. So when students graduate from the university, they usually move on from Masala, and we get new students, that are new members of Masala every academic year. And so, around September, when the new school year starts, we'll have auditions at the university, and students are eligible to audition. We do over a few rounds. We have anyone can come out and just kind of show us. I'll do a little bit of vocal exercises and stuff like that, where we ask them to sing back a few scales, and they can sing a little bit of a song for us, and then we ask them a few different questions and just kind of see how we can get along with them. And I think really the biggest thing that we measure is how much they're willing to learn, and how much we think they can learn, how quickly we think they can learn, because that's, I think, the most important thing for Masala. It's not necessarily how much knowledge you come in with, but how quickly you can kind of how flexible you are, how quickly you can kind of hit the ground running and pick up the kind of things that we teach you. Because our kind of our art is, or what we do is kind of different from anything that anyone could have done before. Because if you come from an Indian background, you're going to have to learn the Western aspects of what we do. If you come from a Western background, you're going to have to learn the Indian aspects of what we do. And if you don't have a formal musical background, that's okay too, but there's a lot of formal things that you're going to have to pick up pretty quickly. And so I think that's mostly what our kind of audition and recruitment process is designed to figure out.
And you only train the new members. I mean, you do not hire anybody from outside to train.
No.
You guys only train.
It's all us.
It's like a family only then.
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly like that. We have the older members who teach, the younger people each part. We've put a lot of emphasis on making sure that younger people know that they can ask questions, that, that we make sure that they understand and that they know, and then, they'll pass it down to their younger members. And it just, we've been going for 25 years that way.
And I also heard that students choose, if they have to select between two universities, they will select UPenn because of Penn Masala. And I know it for a fact in the case of Dave, he did that.
Yeah.
And today he's not here, so I cannot ask him in person. So maybe you can. So Penn Masala becomes the USP.
Yeah.
For South Asian children, at least. Yeah.
It really, I think it is, because it's such a unique thing. And it's so, as we said, a lot of us were fans of Masala before university, when we were growing up. There's really nothing else like it, I think, in terms of our identity as South Asian Americans. And so for a lot of us, it's really an exciting opportunity. And when you're choosing between two universities, having something like Masala at one can really draw you in. And I think, I personally wrote about Masala in my application to the university. Yeah.
So you see yourself as like cultural ambassadors in a certain sense, that you're spreading our Indian culture globally and taking it across in a very subtle way, like you're exposing the globe to our kind of music and singing.
I think exactly. You guys are the center of Softpower, so about that, of course. But
that's why the question came.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I think so. I think it really is, because there are people who are fans of a cappella, and there are people who are fans of Western pop music, and they maybe don't see the commonalities, right? And I think that is one of the most valuable things that I've learned from Masala, is that something that you look at these two things that maybe, at first glance, they're very different. And you take a closer look, and add some mashup, and you look at the chord structure and you look at the melody and the emotions, and you see really there's so much in common between two songs that were written in two very different countries. There's really a lot in common. And so I think that's one of the most valuable lessons I've learned from Masala is to kind of look at that more closely. And our hope is that people who might write off Indian music, South Asian music, will take a second look because of us, because we've kind of linked it to something that they already know.
So what kind of audience do you play to? And you also take it to concerts and all. So what is the audience? Is it the South Asian audience, or do you have Westerners also coming in and joining and being a part of the audience?
I would say mostly South Asian people, young South Asian people in kind of in America and in India both, is our primary audience. But that also, that being said, I think we have performed for a pretty diverse range of audiences. So even though our primary audience is South Asian or South Asian, diaspora, we've gone to shows where the majority of the audience is not South Asian. And so, it really depends. And I think that that's the exciting thing about being a South Asian organization in a Western country, is that we can really have the opportunity to get that kind of exposure and spread our music and our culture in that way.
Can I ask Sachit a question?
Yeah, of course.
What is the perception of your lecturers, professors, and your co-student community about the band, and how do you perform for them? For the entire university, or is it only to specific Indian communities, or like what do they think of your profs, of your group?
Yeah, absolutely. So every spring we do have a show on campus here at the University of Pennsylvania, of course, before COVID affected us. So every spring we'd have a show at one of our biggest auditoriums, and we would really invite, as you mentioned, professors, students, people from all parts of the university and even around the city that our university is in, Philadelphia, to come to the show and see who we are, meet us, and listen to our music. So we say that through events like that, we do try to spread our music and our work throughout the student body, and we're really thankful to have support from other a cappella groups on campus and from the performing arts community at Penn for our work, who always supports us as we work on new music and create new initiatives.
I'm asking this is the Cleveland Tyagaraja Festival is held every year, and it's been held for over 25 years now. But, we had a representative, an American, who came to India, and we asked her, had she heard, and this is held at Cleveland University. We asked her, had she heard of the Cleveland Tyagaraja Festival? She said she was not aware that there was such a festival. And this is the most, iconic classical Indian music festival held in a American university, but a person living in Cleveland has not heard about it. So how do we make sure we're not singing to ourselves or preaching to the galleries? I mean, how do we get people? I mean, you've mentioned it before, but do they see us? Do you have non-Indian members? One of the ways that people said you can get people into our music is to collaborate with non-Indians. Then they realize that it can connect with them too. They have their own community, their followers, they bring that in. So do you take non-Indian members, and do you have many non-Indian members in Masala?
Yeah, actually, one of our fellow sophomores, one of my and SACHIT classmates, Albert, is not Indian, and he joined the group. And in the past, we've had many non-Indian members as well. I don't think there's any group restriction that we have on like letting only South Asian people audition or anything like that. We're always welcoming to anyone regardless of their background.
And what about the branding itself? How do you all don't look like the typical teenage pop musicians? I envisioned some people, like when I saw the pictures, I was like astounded. I saw people with long hair and ponytails or torn jeans, but you look like very grounded youngsters. So is this something you have consciously done, or is it your in the past? Do you have these little off the beat musicians, or
Or
is this
you grew out of that phase, maybe.
is
I think they are the genuine selves. They are
I mean, yeah,
what
no,
they are.
I think that's just us, and I think that
Yeah.
that's something that we learned is that our music does the best, I guess, gets the most exposure when we're just ourselves, and I think what makes Masala so special, I feel like I've said this, but I think it's so important is the fact that it captures our identity so well, and that there's a lot of people like us who want to find some sort of bridge between these cultures, and like I think that's the selling point, and that we don't really need to do much branding beyond that, because that kind of bridge, that kind of overlap is what's so exciting about this kind of space that we're in. And so I guess we don't really need to do much more branding beyond that. Obviously, depending on the context in which we're performing, we might emphasize one side of that more or less. So, we were lucky enough to perform at the Ghana Music Festival, by a couple years ago, where we performed along with a lot of other um, Bollywood stars, and people we really look up to, Ayushmann Khurrana, Arijit Singh. But we also performed, this year in a music competition that was held for American a cappella groups. And so, we have a lot of different things that we can fit into, and I think that helps us get the exposure, the word out, helps us kind of appeal to different kinds of audiences.
Being your own authentic selves help.
Yeah.
That's
the singer songwriter is a very important part of the American music tradition. And here also we have a lot of composers. Is there any one of you looking to write your own lyrics? And we would love to know if has anyone in the last 20 years come up with an original song. We would love to hear that if there's, and why not?
Well, actually, the group itself does come up with originals. We try to come up with an original, at least once every album that we put out. So on our most recent album, Musafir, it was meant to be Chalta Raha, and there's like several others on the previous albums. So we are, at some point in the next year, we will write another original. That I think that's always been the plan. But yeah. People are always trying to explore their musicality and explore their creativity. And so, yes, our alumni, they do write songs, but, some of them just keep it private and they sing it to maybe just themselves. And some members of the group have songs that they've written and they sing it to us and we think they're great. And then, we just continue on with, what we're doing in Masala and, contributing to the group vision, I guess.
And what do you think of each other's strengths? I mean, if I had to ask you, what are the strengths that can you talk about each other? I mean, musical strengths that you bring to your group.
Individual strengths.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Kushal and Partha are able to sing some of the highest notes in our group, so they're on the tenor parts. So like personally, I could never reach those notes, but somehow they do it with ease every show and every practice. So that's something I admire about them a lot.
And who looks after the marketing and that kind of aspect, reaching out, organizing concerts, and because that also takes quite a deal of energy and planning and everything, the logistics and everything of it. So who looks after that?
Yeah, so that's all done within the group. It's split up a lot between our members. So SACHIT, for instance, he takes up all the marketing. So we have, like we mentioned, our social media presence is really important for us for spreading our music out to the world. And then on the other side, I mainly work on getting our music out to people through concerts and in-person events, as well as securing those different partnerships with people like Benny Dial that we mentioned earlier. So that is all done within the group, within those members, and we work together and collaborate to really make all that happen.
Yeah. So I think, when you ask what are kind of valuable strengths that we all bring, like we all have our musical strengths, and of course that's the core of what we do, but we also have, a lot of people have different other strengths. We have people who work on the music videos in-house, or we have people who do the arranging like Partha. On the musical side, we have people like SACHIT who do the marketing. And so, even outside of the music, we all have different strengths that we bring to Masala. And I think encouraging people to work on the things that excite them and that they have a strength in is part of our, organizational strength, I guess, as well.
I just noticed there are not a lot of girls in Masala. Is that is are there or are they not? Am I wrong?
Yeah, I can take that one. So actually, so the reason for that is when the group was founded, 25 years ago, it was founded by 4 guys at the University of Pennsylvania, 4 male students, and they started writing music in like the male vocal register. And a cappella is kind of very divided in terms of male a cappella and female a cappella. And because a lot of our earlier arrangements were done in the lower registers, it's kind of very hard for us to go back and rearrange all of that into higher registers for co-ed or for female kind of voices, which is kind of why the group has remained all male thus far. But yeah, we'll see what happens.
I hope we see some. I mean, it's like the British consulate told us that there's a new rule that for every webinar we do, there should be an equal number of women to men ratio. And CSP is all women. So we said, we are actually gone the other end where there are more women than men. So it'll probably bring a balance and a different perspective to music. But I understand your issues with, the music itself, an extra effort. So, Aparna, any last questions for the year?
Yeah, tell us before that, 2 questions then. Tell us about the support from your parents and alumni, because I know your parents have been very supportive, and wherever you have traveled, like they have opened their homes and doors to you guys and fed and looked after you while you have gone performing and all that. So please tell us, because I think without your support of the parents, nothing is possible. Being parents, we want to hear that again and again. So share some light on that.
Yeah, like you said, that's exactly true. I think our parents do. They're extremely supportive of this. It's a way to engage with the culture that they raised us in. And so that's exciting for them too. And I think we've really built a strong community around our group and our families. And so our moms have a WhatsApp group where they all exchange pictures of us and keep track of where we are. And anytime we go to a city where one of us lives, where one of our families is from, we always stop by at home, or even we'll stay the night. I've had the whole group over at my house for lunch before, and my mom gets very excited, and she always asks about who are the new members, what's Partha doing, what's SACHIT doing, what's SACHIT doing, so we're lucky in that sense to have so much support. And obviously, without them, we wouldn't be in school and we wouldn't be singing. And so, of course, very important.
And so 2020 has been a tough year for all of us. And so what are your takes from this year, and what would you wish for the new year? What would you like to do, and what would you wish for yourselves and for all of us for the new year, 21?
I'm just going to say the obvious, and I'm going to hope that the pandemic kind of calms down and gets to a manageable level, so that we can all kind of get back out into the world and start seeing people again, and hopefully so that we can start performing live again and start traveling again.
That's what I was going to say. I think performing live for us, especially for me and Dave, it's our last couple months in the group. And so getting to perform live at least once before we graduate would be lovely, I think. But I don't know if you guys have different ideas, but I think one of the things that I learned about the pandemic is that, we've really been able to, how lucky we are to kind of have an online presence, and how important that is, I think has been really highlighted this year, because we've been able to kind of continue putting out music and continue getting engagement even when we're all, across the world. And that's really exciting to us, I think, because, I feel like it was kind of reassuring to know that our audience is still engaged, even when we're not doing shows, and still supportive. And I think we felt a lot of love from people who have been following us in the past year, which has been really exciting.
Yeah, I
And
think,
so,
yeah.
what song would you like to play for us?
Mhm.
We can play that song. You send us a link, or you tell us, and we'll play that song for our
Yeah, they
audience.
are vocalists. They can sing up.
I think they need the whole group together.
Yeah, I think so. Well, we'll send you we can definitely send you a link.
That will be very nice.
Yeah.
And why? And why are you sending that particular song to us?
Well, Partha, you
Which
wanna
one would that be?
Mhm.
Let us think about this a little bit.
Okay.
There's a lot of good choices. So
Do send it. Yes.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I mean, I totally agree with you that technology has been a good leveler, including for us at CSP, because most of the people we interact with are not in India, and so we've had access to people, and we would have taken the easy way out of sending perhaps even to you an email interview. But because of what's happened, we are getting to engage with people from all walks of life, and at time zones which otherwise we would not have thought. At 9:30 in the morning, and for you all it's night. We would not have accommodated, but we are able to come together seamlessly without any issues. We don't know each other. So, but we are able to just come together and have a delightful conversation. So, maybe that is one benefit, if we can talk about, because India, we tend to be a little technology shy. Even our students do have managed to go online from school level onwards. They are getting used to a new reality. And I pray that all of us stay safe in 2021, and do keep going with your music, and it helps, I think, in our personal lives too. Just to get away from the boredom and tediousness of life sometimes. And thank you so much for sharing your time, and we're really grateful to all of you. Namaste.
Thanks so much for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
All the best. See you soon. Bye.
Thanks.
Thank you so
Take
much.
care.
So much.
See you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.